G'day. G'day and welcome to Dust and Grace. My name's Rachel if you're new here, although I doubt that you're new here if this is the first video that you're seeing. So I wanted to just catch up and let you know I'm still here. I haven't been posting for a little while. I'll talk about why that is. And yeah, just chill and catch up. I've been sick for a little while. I think last week I came down with something, still a bit snuffy. So our daughter is old enough to start going to play groups, which is mind-blowing, but she loves it. She loves going and seeing all the other kids. It's so cute seeing her trying and learning how to make friends. She's a big sharer. When she was a little bit smaller, I think she just realised, you know, that toys were a good fun thing, and she'd run around, you know, giving toys to everyone if we had guests, and she still does it if I'm, you know, having a bad day, or if I just kind of like I'm tired, I'm just sitting in stillness, and I think she interprets that as mum's sad or she's bored, and she'll start running over with toys to cheer me up. And she employs a similar technique in playgroup. She'll start cautiously offering toys to the other little kids, and it's really sweet. Some of the other kids are a bit rough. She's been hit a few times already and had things whacked out of her hands, and it's amazing just seeing the innocence of a kid that little, where I would say that she's very well adjusted at the moment, and she's got a very kind tendency, and she just, when kids do that, she just kind of looks at them like, why has this happened? And she absolutely doesn't hold it against the other kids. She'll just be like, okay, that was weird, I guess I'll try again later to be your friend. And that's just really sweet of her to do that. So yeah, we picked up something at playgroup. She was a bit snuffy. She gave her snuffiness to me, and it didn't last very long, and it wasn't very bad, but you know, like a week later I'm still feeling a bit out of it. Got a scratchy throat, so that's a little bit of why I haven't been filming. But I know a few other creators have been talking about this, but YouTube analytics have been a little bit discouraging. I will caveat this, is that the right word? I'll put a disclaimer that this channel is not about how many views I get, and it's not about how much revenue it can make, or anything like this, but it is a hobby. And so, as with any hobby, if you can see progress and success, you're more encouraged to pursue it. So for the last, I guess maybe month, the YouTube analytics on this channel have been nosediving a bit, and as I said, that's fine. I don't mind. It's not about the views, it's because I enjoy making videos that I keep posting. But I also have a very small kid, and I've got a husband and a house to run, and there are always things that I need to be learning and doing other than dedicating time to filming videos. So the fact that the analytics took a little bit of a nosedive and the channel's not producing much of an income at the moment has been a little bit of a sign to take a breather, I think, for me, because I do get a bit overwhelmed trying to cram in filming time along with all the other stuff that is going on in the brain. Like, is the gardening maintained enough? Do we have food for dinner? Do we need to walk to the shops? Do we need to look after the baby? Is she gonna have a nap so that I can film? And I think that having pressure to constantly film and produce content also, it taints my time with my daughter on some days. Like, on some days where it's like, I need to film, I need to get content out in order to meet the schedule that is entirely set by my brain. It's like, that taints my playtime with her, because I'm no longer just being in the moment and enjoying that moment and thinking, wow, I'm so blessed to just sit here with a baby. It then becomes, oh my goodness, I need you to just go to sleep. Suddenly she becomes an inconvenience rather than a blessing, and that grates against me, because she is a blessing and she is nothing but a blessing. And I don't think that it is right to ever view a child as an inconvenience, because children are a blessing, a gift from the Lord. And if we're viewing them as an inconvenience and not glorifying God and praising him every time we get to spend time with them, even if it's annoying time, like they're not going down for a nap when you want them to, that's a missed opportunity. And yeah, so that's a big reason I have not been pushing myself to get content out. So if any of you are creators or familiar with creators, you will know that the success of your content quite heavily depends not only on your catchphrases and your thumbnails and stuff, but it depends on your consistency, because YouTube rewards consistency. If you're posting 2 times a week, you're meeting your schedule, YouTube's going to reward that by recommending your content a lot more, because they're like, hey, this person's dedicated, they produce consistent content, we're going to show everyone, and hopefully they will, people will want to watch it. So when the analytics started taking a nosedive and people, weren't, YouTube wasn't recommending my content as much, it was a sign for me to slow down a bit, because I was being consistent and I was being on schedule, and just for some reason YouTube stopped recommending my content. So you guys who were seeing it were clicking through, and that was amazing, but YouTube wasn't recommending it to anyone else. Like, they weren't showing everyone that I'd posted or anything. So I don't know, maybe YouTube's just having a minute. I've seen a lot of other consistent creators saying the same thing. Even I think Batala ASMR, who is a huge, great, consistent channel, she commented on it, and I'm like, why would YouTube stop recommending someone that people clearly love and keep subscribing to and supporting? So YouTube's just having a minute. I'll let YouTube do its thing. I'm not passionate about the views or the subscribers, but if this is not a a viable source of income that I can justify dedicating that amount of time and effort to getting 2 videos out a week on a schedule, if that isn't a consistent form of income, I guess it just means that I'm not as motivated to force that schedule to happen. And that doesn't mean that I don't love creating content for you guys and love bringing the Bible studies. It just means that I post the same stuff, just a little bit less. because I think ordinarily it's feasible for me to get one video out a week, maybe, just because I do have those other priorities, and running a household, perhaps just in the way that I run a household, is a full-time job. I don't know about everyone else, but there's a lot of cooking and a lot of cleaning, and we don't buy a lot of stuff that other people buy. So we don't buy biscuits, we don't buy bread, we don't buy muesli bars. I have to make all of that stuff from scratch. And that's on top of, your regular household chores and your regular 3 meals a day that I also cook. So, fitting all that stuff in while still having time to enjoy the presence of my child and the presence of my husband, and to not become completely overwhelmed because I had no downtime. That is a juggling act in itself. So when I was getting 2 videos out a week and being real consistent with the content, I did find that I was burning out a little bit, because it's so much. It's not just the filming for the content that I was producing, it's the editing and the research that goes into it. So it's been really nice to just stop and be able to relax and, I guess, recalibrate a little bit. And I do have a Bible verse to share with you, because I think it's really important to explain that there's a difference between enough rest. There's a difference between, what am I trying to say? There's a difference between good rest, productive rest, and laziness. So I've talked about rest a lot on this channel, and the different kinds of rest, and how scrolling YouTube is probably not productive rest. But when I was young, when I was a teenager, I think, and in my early adulthood, when I was living with my family, my parents and my brother, I did not have productive rest, and I felt burnt out and exhausted all the time, because I was just constantly in a state of stress. And when I did have free time, instead of using that time to rest and be still and be at peace, I'd fill it with other things, because I was not comfortable enough to be at peace. So when we were little, we'd watch, and maybe half an hour to an hour of TV a day. Judge Judy would be on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We'd watch that. And then it expanded a bit. It became a little bit bigger. We'd watch an hour and a half of TV a day, because we realized that there was this, kids broadcast program. It had like a host presenting it, and it would have these different shows in it or whatever. And then we discovered that a channel had all the old shows like I Dream of Jeannie, Hogan's Heroes, Gilligan's Island, Bewitched. We'd watched that, and suddenly an hour became 2 hours, and then we discovered that another channel was running MASH in the evenings, and so that 2 hours became 3 hours, and before you knew it, we must have literally been watching up to 6 or 7, sometimes maybe even 8 hours of TV a day. And not just, having the TV on in the background while we were working on other stuff, but just sitting there and watching these shows. And, looking back, I cannot believe it that was, something I would do. That was how I would spend my time. And those shows are amazing. I love those shows, but moderation is key. And, in order for watching a show, for watching a movie to be of any value or consequence, you have to watch it and then take time out to reflect, to maybe talk as a family if you all watched it together, to talk about what was good about the show, what was bad about the show, what morals were or weren't depicted, what could the characters have done better, how would God want us to perform in those situations. And yet there was none of that. So if there's anything that I learned from that time, it was sarcasm and not a huge amount else. It was just a fun little escape. Rather than learning how to live life, we learned how to escape from life and how to not take anything seriously. And that is laziness. Watching that volume of TV is laziness. Doing that volume of gaming, perhaps if you're a gamer, that is laziness as well. You know, you can try and justify it by saying esports is a thing now, but where is esports going to get you in 10 years time or 15 years time? And I know you could say it might make me a lot of money. It might, but how is your mind? What state is your mind in? How difficult do you find it to just sit and focus on one thing at a time? Yeah, so there's a huge difference. The peace and the rest that I'm employing now is, you know, I might watch a YouTube video, but I've been finding that that's not fulfilling at all. You know, I'll watch the same creators that I used to watch. I'll watch Word of God, ASMR, or Daily Bread, or Dee's channel, what's that called? The Healing Word ASMR. Getting all my channels confused in my mind, but I'll watch those and I love the content, and if I can just pick one and watch it all the way through and study along, I'll do that. But you know, even if I have a headache and I'm just trying to disconnect and unwind, I'll listen to those videos in the background, but then I find myself thinking, I'm spending so much time trying to focus and comprehend the words that are being said. It would be more valuable for me this time if I turned off the phone, if I put it away, and I just lay down and actually learned how to relax in this moment with just me and the Lord and the place that I'm in, not trying to escape, not focusing on something else, just finding peace here and now. And that's a massive tangent, but I wanted to share some verses with you from Proverbs. I was thinking about how I used to watch so much TV. I was thinking about how much, you know, just like the comedy is to an extent, it's good. It's telling you, hey, don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take life too seriously. Just, you know, be present. Look at the bright side. But some of the other stuff, like the crime shows and just, oh my goodness, even just movies that we think, hey, this is just really fun. They have such terrible messages, and we just sit there and we watch it and we laugh and we absorb it, we let it into our brain and we walk away as though nothing bad just happened. We don't assess it, we don't review it. I was watching the Cinema Therapy blokes talk about Mamma Mia, a movie that I used to love watching as a kid purely because I have an insane obsession with music. That was one of my biggest escapes as a kid. I would just music whenever humanly possible, and I love ABBA. But the morals of that movie, oh my goodness, just if you have time and ABBA is a movie and Mamma Mia is a movie that you love or that you think is appropriate for your children, I'd hop on over and watch Cinema Therapy. Those guys just talk about it. Not even, you know, hugely inappropriate morals, but just the volume of dishonesty that is portrayed in that movie. It's like, unless you're talking about it with your kids, unless you're going over what is and isn't acceptable, unless you're identifying those mistakes and learning, not a great movie to be watching without that parental guidance. Parental guidance isn't just a fancy title that means you should sit next to your kids and watch it too and then walk away like nothing happened. Parental guidance means you parentally guide your child. Just in case there's any confusion about what that means. So these verses from Proverbs chapter 24, I'm reading ESV. I'm just going to read from verse 30 to the end of the chapter. These verses are about laziness. I passed by the field of a sluggard, by the vineyard of a man lacking sense, and behold, it was all overgrown with thorns. The ground was covered with nettles, and its stone wall was broken down. Then I saw and considered it. I looked and received instruction. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. There's also a verse in one of the books that Paul wrote about a little leaven leavens the whole lump. A little complacency, a little shrugging of the shoulders, and that's not my probleming, can snowball into something huge. That half an hour of Judge Judy became slightly more, a little bit of leaven, a little bit of, oh, it's not that bad. And before you know it, it snowballs into this huge thing. Suddenly your kids are watching like 8 hours of television a night. And instead of calling them out, you join them. You say, yeah, those are great shows. I used to watch those shows. Then you find more and more shows to watch. And it just builds up and up. And because you've tolerated it for so long, by the time you realize this is a problem, you feel powerless to do anything about it because it's been tolerated for so long. And you're just like, well, you know, if I point it out now, it means I have to admit that I was wrong to tolerate this in the first place. And admitting we're wrong is difficult. So the moral of this story is to not be lazy, but to prioritize what is important. To know God's word and to know what the Lord sees as important. Children are so important. They're so valuable. They're a gift. They're a blessing. And our job is to teach them how to be a person, how to function around other people. Our job is to teach them right from wrong. And if we start tolerating things now, we start tolerating a bit more and a bit more and a bit more, it's going to be so much more difficult to correct it once it's become that huge, scary monster of an issue. So use your time wisely, not in laziness or complacency, not in shrugging your shoulders and tolerating stuff, but so it's raining here. And the ground's a bit squudgy and squelchy, and I can't tell if that was someone scooting, someone skidding out because they're taking the corner too fast, or yeah, That's a very loud ute. Oh, they went the wrong way. They must have been chucking a Yui. I can see them going down a different road. But yeah, don't be complacent. If you can see issues in your life, if you can see things that aren't lining up with God's word, now is the time to address them, because the longer you hide it, the longer you ignore it, the longer you allow it to get out of control, the harder it's going to be to fix it, especially where there's other people involved. Like, I used to watch YouTube way too much, and thankfully the Lord has changed my heart, and as I said, he's been, I'll pick it up, I'll watch a bit, and then I just think to myself, why am I doing this? It's like every single time I do something that I see as a bit pointless, I get that vanity of vanities in my head. I just hear it, vanity of vanities, like, what is this? What am I doing with my life? And that's great. But, if you can see things that you need to change them now. Start small and work your way up if you have to, but don't just be complacent. Don't ignore things. So I'm going to end by reading those verses again. Thank you for joining me. I will hopefully be filming again very soon. I'm just feeling a bit crook at the moment, so we'll see how we go. Proverbs 24, starting in verse 30. I passed by the field of a sluggard, by the vineyard of a man lacking sense. And behold, it was all overgrown with thorns. The ground was covered with nettles, and its stone wall was broken down. Then I saw and considered it. I looked and received instruction. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. So, use your time wisely, friends, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.